The rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the cracked pavement of Lexington Avenue, turning its uneven sidewalks into a slick, glistening river of reflections. Streetlights flickered above, their tired glow barely pushing back the murk of night. It was past 11, technically closing time for the Lexington Diner, but that didn't mean much to Janelle Hart. Janelle, a woman with chestnut skin and gentle, discerning eyes, was no stranger to long shifts. She'd been wiping down the counter, sweat still clinging to her arms after 12 straight hours on her feet, when she noticed the small figure slumped outside. A boy, hunched over in a worn-down wheelchair, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. The coat draped over him was torn, too thin for the chill, and the frayed blanket around his legs looked like it had been soaked through hours ago. He sat still under the buzz of the neon Lexington Diner sign, as if frozen in place by something heavier than just cold. Janelle frowned. She set her cleaning rag down and moved toward the door, her instincts louder than the rain. She stepped outside, the wind clawing at her apron as she crouched next to him. "Hey, sweetie," she said softly, her voice gentle like she was approaching a frightened bird. "What are you doing out here all alone?" The boy flinched at first, then slowly turned his head. His eyes were the color of stormy skies, blue, wide, and filled with that hollow kind of uncertainty children shouldn't have to carry. "I'm waiting for my dad," he whispered. Janelle looked up and down the street. Nothing but the amber flicker of a pawn shop's cash for gold sign and the occasional hiss of tires against wet asphalt. "Where is he?" she asked, worry already threading her tone. He shrugged, pulling the blanket tighter. No answer came. "Well, you can't stay out here," she said with a soft smile. "Come on inside, okay? It's warm in there, and I got something special just for you." He hesitated for a breath, then gave a slight nod. Janelle gently took hold of the wheelchair handles and pushed him inside. The diner's warmth wrapped around them instantly, the scent of buttered toast, stale coffee, and the faint hint of something fried. She guided him to a booth near the radiator and fetched a fresh towel, wrapping it around his shoulders. "I'm Janelle," she said, kneeling to his level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" He sniffled, clutching the edge of the blanket. "Evan." "Strong name," she said approvingly. "You hungry?" Evan gave a sheepish nod. Janelle didn't wait. She headed to the kitchen, pulling out sourdough slices, cheese, and a can of tomato soup. Her hands worked fast, but careful. This was a comfort meal, the same one her grandma used to make on nights when the world felt too mean to face. A few minutes later, she set a plate in front of him, golden grilled cheese, and a warm bowl of tomato soup. "This one's on me," she said, tucking a napkin into his lap. Evan took a bite and blinked like he couldn't believe how good it tasted. "This is the best thing I've ever had," he mumbled between chews. Janelle chuckled softly, her heart catching in her chest. "Good food makes everything better," she said. But inside, she felt that familiar ache, that sharp tug of heartbreak when you saw a child shouldering pain too big for them. What she didn't know was that across the street, someone was watching. In a sleek black Bentley parked in the shadows, Lincoln Marsh sat motionless. At 46, Lincoln was a man sculpted by power and precision, the type of man whose name got whispered in tech circles like it was part myth, part warning. Marsh Tech Industries was his empire, flawless, massive, ruthless. Lincoln had built his life on control, on eliminating variables. And now, here he was, watching a black waitress in a rundown diner feed his son. His jaw was tight. He had been on a late-night investor call with Tokyo, told Evan to wait by the diner for just a few minutes. He hadn't counted on delays. He hadn't counted on this woman. He dialed. "Nina," he said when his assistant picked up, "get down to Lexington Diner. No suits, no heels. I need eyes there in 20 minutes. "Yes, sir," she replied without question. "I want everything on the woman who just fed my son," he said, then hung up. Back inside, Evan laughed, truly laughed as Janelle wiped a soup stain from his chin. It was the first time he had smiled all night. "Messy eater," she teased. Across the street, Lincoln's expression remained unreadable. He didn't believe in kindness. He believed in debts. and Janelle Hart had just earned one. 20 minutes later, the diner door opened again. A woman entered, blonde hair tucked under a ball cap, hoodie pulled low. She didn't belong in the diner not because of her clothes, but because of the air she carried. Alert, sharp, watching everything. She made a beeline for Evan. "Hey, champ," she said lightly, crouching down. "Time to go." Evan looked hesitant. "But I haven't finished my milk." "You can take it with you," she said with a smooth smile. "Your ride's waiting." Janelle's arms crossed. She didn't like this. "You his family?" she asked, direct. "I'm his aunt," the woman replied too quickly. Janelle turned to Evan. "That true, sweetheart." He paused, long enough to make Janelle's gut clench. "She's here for my dad," he finally said. Janelle had seen this before, the hesitation, the fear. But she also knew her place. Asking too many questions as a black woman in America came with consequences. So instead, she walked to the counter, grabbed a cookie, and wrapped it in wax paper. "For the road," she said, handing it to Evan. "Thanks, Janelle. You're the best." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. As the woman wheeled Evan out, she paused at the door. Looked back. Didn't speak. Just looked. A silent warning. Outside, the Bentley's headlights flashed. The woman ninapeened the door. Lincoln stepped out, tall and imposing under the neon diner sign. "He's in," Nina said as she buckled Evan in the back seat. Lincoln's eyes narrowed. And the woman? She's sharp. Didn't buy the ant lie. But she let him go. "She had no choice," Nina said. "You know how it is. A black woman makes a scene. She's the problem." Lincoln said nothing. "She's not like the others," Nina added quietly. Lincoln already knew that. He had seen the way Janelle moved. The way she treated Evan like he mattered. She hadn't known who he was, and she had helped anyway. That made her dangerous. Back in her apartment that night, Janelle was drying her soaked shoes when there was a knock at the door. She froze. No one came to her place, unannounced, especially not this late. She peered through the peephole. A man stood there, expensive coat, posture like a CEO, face hard and calculating. She didn't open the door. "Who is it?" "Lincoln Marsh." She didn't recognize the name. "What do you want?" "To talk." She almost ignored him. But something in his voice, it wasn't just command. There was weight. She cracked the door. "I don't know you." "No, but you know my son." Her heart skipped. Her grip on the doorframe tightened. "Evan," she said. He nodded once. "I was across the street last night." "You were watching?" "I was." She narrowed her eyes. "You here to complain I gave him soup?" "No," he said quietly. "I'm here because I don't believe in charity. But I do believe in paying debts." He stepped forward and placed an envelope on her kitchen table. She stared at it like it might explode. "What is that?" "A job offer." She blinked. "It what?" "Position at Marsh Tech. 6 figures. Full benefits." She laughed. "You think I want to be your charity case?" "It's not charity," he said. "It's opportunity. And I don't offer it lightly. You don't know me. I know enough. You helped my son. You didn't have to. That tells me everything." She looked at the envelope again. Thick, weighty, real. "And what would I be doing?" she asked cautiously. "Fetching coffee." "No," he said. "You'd be working with me. Negotiations. Public relations. You're good with people." She crossed her arms. "You've got a building full of Ivy Leaguers for that. That's why I don't trust them." The silence stretched. "Finally," she said, "why me?" He looked at her, and for the first time his voice softened. "Because you saw my son," he said. "Not my money. Not my legacy. You saw him." She held his gaze. Then, without another word, she picked up the envelope. "I'll think about it." He nodded once, then left. But she already knew. She was going to say yes.